Hey there, welcome to English Online Lessons with the Perfect Tutor. So in this video, we are going to look at reason. Reason. I know most of you, when you look at the word, you're just saying, this is just a word. But it's a topic in English which you need to know. So we'll try to know what the reason is, first of all. A reason is simply a cause for something to happen. A cause for something to happen. Keep that definition first of all. Let me give you an example. I failed the examination. I failed the examination. This is what happened. This is what happened. Now, why did this happen? Why did I fail my examinations? Because I did not study hard. So the reason here is that I did not study hard. I hope you are able to see where the reason is. This is the reason here. I did not study hard. So this is how you are going to see the sentences expressing reason. That's the structure. Now, these sentences have got two clauses or two parts, let me say. Part 1 that contains what happened is called the main clause. Whereas the part 2 that consists of the reason is called the subordinate clause. So main clause and subordinate clause. Now look at these examples. The boy laughed in class. The boy laughed in class. This is the main clause. This is what happened. The boy laughed in class. Why did this boy laugh in class? Because he was tickled. Because he was tickled. This is the subordinate clause. It is containing the reason as to why the boy laughed in class. Second example. She did not come to school. Why? Because she was sick. Because she was sick. I hope you now have the knowledge about the sentences expressing reason. Now, let us look at some of the structures used to express reason. Which structures am I going to talk about here? Look at this. We have two clauses, the main clause and the subordinate clause. So, the boy laughed in class. The reason is that he was tickled. He was tickled. But which word can you see appearing in between the two clauses in order to connect them? We can see the word what? Because, to introduce the subordinate clause. So we are going to talk about the words or the structures that are used to connect these two clauses here. We'll start with the same one, because, since, and as. So these three words mean the same thing as in reason. They can also be used interchangeably, meaning where you can use because, you can use since, or as. It is one and the same thing. Example, Chavala got a distinction. Chavala got a distinction because he studied hard. Because he studied hard. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. Here we used because inside the sentence, but here we have used because to start the sentence. What happens? Before you connect to the second clause, make sure you put a comma. Make sure you put a comma, as you can see here. So, because Chavala studied hard, look at this. The reason is that he studied hard. So sometimes you can start with this clause and then you connect it to this one. Now we cannot say because he studied hard, Chavala got a distinction. No, the principles of English do not allow us to do that. We should mention the noun. So we are going to say because. We'll replace the he with the name Chavala. So because Chavala studied hard, he passed the examination. Because Chabala studied hard, he passed the examination. Make sure you put a comma. Seeing that and now that. Seeing that and now that. These words can also be used interchangeably. For this, because, since, as, here you can also say Chabala got the distinction since he studied hard, or Chabala got the distinction as he studied hard. Even for this one, you can say since Chabala studied hard, comma, he got a distinction, or as Chabala studied hard, comma, he got a distinction. Full stop here. So this is what we mean by using the structures interchangeably. Even for saying that and now that, we do the same. You can use them interchangeably. So how do we use saying that and now that? How do we use these two words? They are also used to express reason. For example, let us travel by bus, seeing that we have missed the train. Let us travel by bus, seeing that we have missed the train. So the subordinate clause here is us missing the train. The main clause is saying, let us travel by bus. Why do we have to travel by bus? Because we have missed the train. Now, in this case, we are using seeing that. So, seeing that we have missed the train. Let us travel by bus, seeing that we have missed the train. You can also say, let us travel by bus now that we have missed the train. Let us travel by bus now that we have missed the train. The same principle applies here. When you use this word or this one inside a sentence, like in this case, you don't put a comma. But like this one, where you use it to start a sentence, then you have to put a what? A comma. So we can start with the reason. Seeing that we have missed the train, it is even showing to say we should put a comma. Seeing that we have missed the train, comma, let us travel by bus. Now that we have missed the train, comma, let us travel by bus. So it is the same thing. You can use seeing that, you can use now that. This is how you use the two structures. There is just one exception here. Avoid using now that when the action happened in the past. We don't use now that. Use seeing that. For example, now that they had completed their work, the children were allowed to go home. No, completing the work happened in the past. They had completed. So we cannot use now that because it has got this word now, and you know what it means. So we don't use now that when we are dealing with things that took place in the past. I hope we are together. Use of participial phrases. When participial phrases are used, the part of the sentence that gives the explanation is expressed as a participial phrase. Take this one. That part of the sentence that gives the explanation or that gives the reason is expressed as a participial phrase. How? I need to concentrate on my studies because I am in grade 12. I need to concentrate on my studies because I am in grade 12. So this is the main clause. I need to concentrate on my studies. Why? Because I am in grade 12. So the part that gives the reason, which is this one, I am in grade 12, will be expressed as a participial phrase. Participial phrase should always begin with a verb in present continuous tense. A verb in present continuous tense. So I am will be expressed as being. This person is in grade 12. So being in grade 12 being in grade 12. Now, for participial phrases, you need to ask yourself, you have started a sentence with a verb here. This is a verb in present continuous tense. So you say being in grade 12, you're done with this part. You put a comma. Then you ask yourself, who is in grade 12 according to the question? It's I, right? Yeah, so you start with the I here. I need to concentrate on my studies. Being in grade 12, I need to concentrate on my studies. Let's look at another example here. You understand better. The other example that will help you get this. The driver was stopped by the police because he failed to observe the speed limit. Pay attention here. The driver was stopped by the police because he failed to observe the speed limit. He failed to observe the speed limit. That's why he was stopped by the police. Now look at this. How do you express this in participial phrase? What happened is that the driver was stopped by the police, but what was the reason? Failing to observe the speed limit. So we start with this one, the verb, which is in past tense, but here we put it in present continuous tense. Failed to observe the speed limit. We are going to put it as failing to observe the speed limit. So as you can see here, we just get everything here. It says that the verb should change to present continuous tense. Failing to observe the speed limit. Then ask yourself, after you put a comma, who failed to observe the speed limit? It's the driver, right? Great. So start with the driver here. Start with the driver. The driver was stopped by the police. Failing to observe the speed limit, the driver was stopped by the police. Simple as that. Example number 3. We were crossing the road when the head teacher greeted us. We were crossing the road when the head teacher greeted us. Crossing the road. Crossing the road. So it's just this verb. You just get that verb. Now here it was already in present continuous tense. So we'll just put it like that. Crossing the road. Now who was crossing the road? It's we. We. So just after this comma, this we must be mentioned, corresponding to the verb here, showing that this is what was performing this action. So crossing the road, we were greeted by the head teacher. So there is something that will change here. You are going to introduce the word by. Since you are going to start with we, then you introduce by. Why? Look at the question. The head teacher greeted us. The head teacher greeted us. What happened to us? We were greeted. The head teacher greeted. So as for us, we were greeted by who? The head teacher. That's why mostly when we start with this, we introduce the word by. It shows itself that you need to introduce the word by, because you can't say we were, the head teacher greeted us. No. You cannot say we were, the head teacher greeted us. But you change it to we were greeted by the head teacher. That's how you rewrite sentences in participial phrases. It's very simple. If you feel like you haven't understood the concept, feel free to replay the video so that you can get it, because questions of this nature do not miss in an exam. Thank you for watching. See you next time.